BodyBags, where horror lies.
Hey guys, Rob from Georgia with you again this Wednesday. I'm your reviewer for BodyBags, and I thank you for checking in and just spending a few minutes listening to me ramble on about Dario Argento's 1980 Inferno. It is the middle entry of his Three Mothers trilogy. The first, of course, being Suspira, and the third entry, of course, being Mother of Tears. Let's see. Stars Leigh McCloskey, that's weird, as Mark, and Irene Miracle as Rose, his sister, and Daria Nicolodi. Of course, she's in here. Of course, Metu Tenebrum, the witch, Mother of Darkness, the focus point of this film in particular, is Martha from the Beyond. I don't know if anyone caught that or has caught it. And of course, Miss Tanner for Suspira, she's in here as well. So that's pretty cool. But anyways, I know how this week's going to work out. It's not looking good already, so I figured I would try to do this. I'm out working my side job, and got a few minutes here to talk about Inferno. I wanted to end this month. We know next week is theme week, and I'll, I guess, technically be ending with another Fulci film as my 2018 release. But in terms of the end of the 3-week here, I wanted to end with Inferno. As my attempt here is sort of thematically driven, this idea of images of terror trilogy, I guess. So started off with The Beyond, and then worked into Zombies H2, and end here with Dario Argento's Inferno. A few thoughts. Well, the plot, just in case anyone out there has never even seen it, and I'm trying to keep the glare off of this, but this is the Arrow release of Inferno, and it's my only DVD. I think I've got 18, 19 some Arrows, but they're all blue. This is my only DVD. But anyways, the second entry picks up with the witch who is in New York, Metu Tenebrum. We were already introduced to the first one, the Mother of Sighs, Suspirium in Germany, and of course we will be meeting the third one in Rome, the Mother of Tears, after this film. But here we have, basically, as Dario mentioned or has said in interviews, it's a Hansel and Gretel sort of tale. Unlike his vision of for Suspira, which was more Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, kind of a Snow White thing here. Here it's more of a Hansel and Gretel. And I don't know how much that really comes through or not, but Mark and his sister Rose really, they're meant to kind of flesh that idea out. And so Mark is in Rome. He's a music student, and his sister is in New York, coincidentally, or maybe not so coincidentally, staying in the very building where one of these mother resides. And she, at the very beginning of the film, this is another film that is heavy image driven. Now, it does attempt to give us much more explanation than the previous entry, but it's still image driven. And but real quick, right at the beginning, we're introduced to Rose, who has found herself a copy of the Three Mothers book and is reading it, and very quickly realizes that she just may be living in the same building as this witch. And so very quickly, very fast-paced, we're with her as she begins to investigate, which at the beginning of the film, quite frankly, I think it's one of the great achievements of this particular entry is the underwater, the cinematography that takes place underwater. She begins to investigate the cellar. She finds a way down, and outside of the building, she goes down the staircase, and she sees a pool of water. And as she's looking into it, her keys fall in, and so she's forced to ultimately go in. And what we're submerged into is like a ballroom. And the further down we go, we see really a world that's been submerged underwater. And there's a portrait of Mater Tenebrum. But the cool thing is there is a door that continues to kind of like move back and forth as though it wants to open up. And it's the moment, it's one of those rare moments in this trilogy where I'm just like on the edge of my seat, and I want to know what's in the room. I want there to be more exploration of this underwater, this cinematography, this scene as it expands. But unfortunately, all we do really get is her swimming down to the bottom, grabbing hold of her keys, and very quickly, there's a bit of a surprise. I'll just kind of leave it off to the side. But she quickly makes her way up to the point of getting out of the room. But very quickly then, the Mother of Darkness is very quick on this notion that someone is snooping just a little too close, a little too fast. And in order to maintain secrecy, maintain the sanctum of a place that she can reside, of course, the forces of darkness are unleashed very quickly. We're then catapulted to Rome, where we catch up with Mark, who eventually will receive a letter from Rose, sort of detailing some of the things that she suspects. He will get distracted initially, as the Mother of Tears will make an entranceway in order to distract him. But there's a girl, Sarah, who's near him as they're in class, who will pick up the letter. And upon reading the letter, she will embark on her own investigation into the matter of the possibility of there being another witch there in Rome. Unfortunately, the pathway that she puts herself on does not lead to a good place for her. But through that, Mark then ultimately becomes aware of the situation, not just with a girl who has reached out to him there in Rome, but then, of course, knows that he needs to go to New York as fast as possible to catch up with his sister. Unfortunately, when he arrives there, she already has disappeared. And from that point on, there is further explanation to the background, kind of an enlargement of the story, but really the image portion of this film kicks into gear, and really it's about Mark's descent into the labyrinth of the Inferno, okay, and ultimately into the sanctum of the Mother of Darkness, well, it's sort of weird. I don't want to give much more away. A few thoughts here. I mean, I like it, and I'm pretty sure I was introduced to it when I was a kid. I must have rented it on VHS. The one scene that I remember more than any other scene was when the antique dealer is ultimately attacked by rats. He's out there. He attempts to drown a bag load of cats, and things do not end well for him. And there's a scene where where he's sort of stuck in the water, and we have an image of this butcher, or he's like a hot dog guy across the waterway. He hears him screaming. He gets out, and we have this weird image of it. It seems as though he's running across the water, which is really eerie, and quickly comes up upon him and then dispatches him in Argento fashion. And that scene has always stuck with me as a kid, but now growing up, re-looking at this film more and more, it's the underwater scene in the room that now maybe captivates me more than any other scene in this film. It's a good, it's a good entry. It's a good follow-up. I think the problem is, a lot of the problems I think arise with not only Argento's sickness that he unfortunately had to deal with. Mario Bava has some work on this film, as well as Lamberto Bava has some work on this film. Lamberto is actually credited, Mario is not. And, we find out too, through interviews and stuff, that apparently the relationship between Dario and the major studio, 20th Century Fox, did not go well, like it usually never does. And that is unfortunate, and one wonders how this all would have unfolded had Dario just quickly lunched off of Suspira in Italy and maintained the same, film company, and just sort of tried to get this trilogy treated as a trilogy and really go after it. I wonder how things would have ended up. But it is a good film, and it is one that grows on you. Keith Emerson does a soundtrack, so there is no Goblin. I'm back and forth on that. I wonder what it would have been like to have Goblin on this thing. But Keith Emerson does a fabulous job on the composition. It kind of brings its own unique vibe to the film. And by the end, it ends in a way you would almost expect it to end. And it grows on me. I would say I'm around an 8.5 on this film. And it's good. I wish I could say the same about the Mother of Tears, but it just, from Suspira to Inferno to Mother of Tears, it just continues to drop, unfortunately. Unlike Fulci's Gates of Hell trilogy, I don't think Dario's trilogy is quite as solid, unfortunately. And I wish it were, but it is good nonetheless. And so I may have to give Fulci the nod on his trilogy. Ultimately, it's an entire vision, I guess, in all three pieces. But check it out if you haven't. It's worthwhile, and some Easter eggs in there. Well, in terms of some of the surprise, in terms of some of the actors that are in there that you might not have been aware of. And Inferno. This will wrap up these 3 weeks of just films that are driven by images over the mere mechanics of plot. And hopefully, I hope maybe you look at these films just a little bit differently, with the few words I've given. So anyways, I'll end it here. VHS82 apostrophe, again, Rob from Georgia. And as always, go Bills.